Hi, my name is Sydney Jensen, and I just graduated with my degree in marriage and family with an emphasis in human advocacy, and this is what I did for my internship. Finding an internship took some time, but some of the best resources that I found was the BYU Idaho Marriage and Family Internship site. I made a list of the ones that I found on that reference page of ones that I would be interested in, whether they were remote. And I went through each of the ones for a pros and cons list, and I reached out to the ones that I felt would be the best fit for me. And then at the end of fall semester of 2020, I took a field trip in Brother Rarick's class for his child and family advocacy. And the first place we went to was the Upper Valley Child Advocacy Center in Rigby, Idaho. At the Advocacy Center, they talked about what they do and how they help kids that have been abused, interview them, and help them and their families through the whole process of prosecution after the crime. They said they do accept interns, and I was definitely intrigued, and so I kept them in the back of my mind. And halfway towards the winter semester, finishing up my classes, I submitted a contact email to the program director, Ashley Stallings at the Upper Valley Child Advocacy Center, and then the executive director, Kimber Janes, contacted me and set up an interview to see if I would be a good fit for the center. She gave me the weekend to think it over and make sure that this was something that I could do, and I accepted, and I was then hired on as an intern for the Upper Valley Child Advocacy Center. Responsibilities of being an intern at Upper Valley Child Advocacy Center were quite across the board. One main thing that interns are responsible for at the Upper Valley Child Advocacy Center is teaching Safer Smarter Kids. Safer Smarter Kids is a program that teaches kindergarten through fourth grade at schools that will allow us to teach them different tools, including having I mean business voice and teaching them what safe and unsafe secrets are, helping them know who are trusted adults, and giving them the tools that they need to be confident and be able to have their voice. Um, One of my favorite lessons was teaching the kids about online safety and how important it is to always make sure that your adult grown-up buddy knows what you're doing online, who you're chatting with online, and how dangerous it can be when you're online because you don't actually know who you're always talking to. Another responsibility that we had was being a third on a case, which means when a victim comes into our center, they come in with a non-offending parent or guardian. Sometimes it's a foster parent, sometimes it's their mom, sometimes it's an older sibling or a grandma. Whoever it may be, the forensic interviewer comes and talks to the child, gives them a quick tour of where they're going to be interviewed, and then the family advocate will talk to the parent during the interview and walk them through all the paperwork and all of the legal process of what's going to happen after the interview. So my job of being a third would be waiting downstairs until the interview started with the kid, and then afterwards playing with the child, whether it be playing games or just chatting or getting snacks or reading books or coloring. Pretty much whatever the child wants to do, it was my job to make sure that they have a really positive experience after their interview, because talking about the abuse that they went through is a really hard thing, and we want them to make sure that they know they did a hard thing and that they're doing the right thing. So we always try to make sure that they have the best experience possible at the center, and so that was a really fun opportunity that I enjoyed as being an intern. Also, during my internship, Rigby Middle School had a shooting, and so a lot of my internship was helping the victims from the shooting, whether that be organizing the donations for blankets and journals that had been donated, or the snacks and water, But another big thing after the fact was crime victims compensation paperwork. So that's something that the state of Idaho and almost every state in the nation has that allows victims of crimes to be compensated, whether it be paying through therapy or paying for, a medical examination if they were hurt physically and stuff like that. And so everyone that was there at the shooting or affected by the shooting submitted a crime victims compensation form, and so I went through those forms and made sure it was filled out correctly and submitted them on our end just so we kept track of everybody, and then also submitted them to the state so that they could be approved. A couple other things I did as an intern was a couple big projects. So the first one, the executive director, Kimber Janes, asked me to create the annual report for the center. Their fiscal year goes from July to July, but the annual report for all nonprofit organizations go for the year from January to December. And so I created and wrote the annual report for the year 2020. And so I went through all of their old data, all of their old cases and statistics, and I made sure I compiled all of the information needed for the nonprofit annual report. I organized all of their goals and figured out what they actually reached. I had to go through all of their grants and financial statements to make sure that was all correct so that they could still be approved for grants in the future. And then I also researched different ways that nonprofits create annual reports so that I made sure it was exactly what they needed to be able to continue to get grants to fund the center. We also did a clothing drive, the other intern and we created a drive-by clothing drive, and there was 2 days that we drove around the southeast Idaho region and picked up clothing donations. So a lot of times when victims come to our center, whether they're abused sexually or domestically, a lot of times their clothes are evidence for the prosecution, and so they have to take their clothes, and so we provide them new clothes. Sometimes kids in foster care don't have a lot of clothes, and so then they don't have much. So we also provide for those kids as well. So we organized flyers and we went and handed them out to tons of different places and businesses and apartment complexes. We set up a Google Voice account for people to contact us with the pickup times and dates. And we calculated all of our donations and reorganized their entire closet and their whole system of giving out the clothes that they need for their victims. It was a really big project and it took a couple weeks. Calculating the donations hasn't even been finished yet, even though my internship is over and we are waiting to hear those numbers. But as of right now, we have raised over $15,000 worth of donations just from these clothing drives. So it was super awesome and a really great experience. And this is the other intern and I with some of our clothes donations. I was a benefit to the Child Advocacy Center I worked for. I came up with great ideas and really helped with the two big projects I worked on. Um, I also have a very strong passion for helping these kids, and so that helped a lot. I also had some work related issues, but was able to solve those, and that definitely brought more unity and cohesion with all of the family advocates and created a more reliable workplace between all of the coworkers. And after the internship, I was contacted and they offered me to be a after hours emergency family advocate, and so I am very grateful for the experience and for the job that they offered me now. And that shows that I was an asset to the team, and I am excited to continue on my work with them. Um, Personally, I benefited a lot. It stretched me and helped me grow a ton. I learned a lot of different trainings about child abuse and internet safety and how trauma affects therapy. I did hours and hours of training in person as well as online through the National Child Advocacy Organization, and I learned different counseling techniques to help kids after the abuse. I learned what are different types of abuse. I learned how to deal with parents who don't necessarily believe their child. I also learned how to help parents when they are lost in the whole situation. It definitely helped me to see that there is still good in the world and that there are people in need and there's people who are willing to help. There are so many volunteers, so many people willing to donate their time and energy and funds to help people that are struggling and in need. And a lot of times this world can seem very dark, but I'm so grateful that I was able to see so much light during my internship. Um, my experience through my coursework brought me a really solid foundation in what I believe and value. Each of my classes that I took for my major helped me know what is most important to me and what I value, and that is the family unit and how important it is that children feel safe and loved in their family, and how parents can um, have the resources to take care of their children. And my internship allowed me to apply that to the real world, to see parents who are struggling to care for their children, or for these kids to feel safe in their home. And I was able to play a role in helping heal families and helping heal kids. I do recommend the Upper Valley Child Advocacy Center as an internship site. They do amazing work, and they are a newer child advocacy center, but they have made leaps and bounds in accreditation nationally, as well as in how they are able to run their center. Um, and so, if you would like to become an intern at Upper Valley Child Advocacy Center in Rigby, just go to their website and then you will hit the contact tab and then send a message. Um, and then in the subject line, just say internship, and they will get in contact with you as soon as they can. Thank you.